just my wife's going to come back in any minute. I'll talk to her. If I mute, and if you hear my dog barking, you can stop. If I mute, just keep talking. She'll get a flight and then walk my time. All right.
Welcome to Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by Replenishing Care Technologies, and they are coming out with a new CBD oil, so look out for that banner over the next day or two. We'll also be doing a show with James Comerford to talk to everybody about that a little bit. I'm your host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I want to welcome in a man who, since it's Monday, should be excited to talk to me since he had the weekend off from me. Former Indiana Hall of Famer, well, I guess he's still an Indiana Hall of Famer, Steve Risley.
Michael, how you doing today?
See, the difference between now and Friday is like night and day.
I got to spend some time on the golf course. I spent all of yesterday morning. I got up at 4 a.m. to watch the British Open, and then I just said, to hell, I'm not playing golf today. I jumped in the pool and spent the day in the pool with my dogs and my wife and my son. We barbecued out, and I didn't get a phone call from you. I got about
hold on.
I didn't get a phone call from you.
Steve,
go ahead.
Steve, this is the order you put this in. I got to spend the day in the pool with my dogs, my wife, and my son.
Well, that's because my son was out picking up all the dog crap out of the yard, and my wife was doing all my laundry. And I had some alone time with my dogs. And then they all joined us after they got their chores done.
All right.
I foregoed my chores. I didn't play golf. I foregoed my chores. And the way I'm playing golf right now, it's a chore. So.
Yeah. It's hard to find clubs that long, probably.
They're 2 inches longer. Let's
talk about golf, the 147th British Open Championship yesterday. And this was something that it was full of major winners, went down to the wire. Francesco Molinari won. At one point, 6 golfers were all tied for first place, including the likes of Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Jordan Spieth. Talk to us a little bit about this.
You know, all in all, overall, it was a very good week for the British Open. The contenders were in the hunt all week long, and generally the British Open is what it's really known for is the link style course, which obviously that most tour players don't play all the time. They play more of the country club type courses of the United States, and the weather. And basically the course had gotten rock hard because they had a drought situation there, and they hadn't got any rain in about 2 years, any hardcore rain. And so people were hitting golf balls 250 yards, and they were rolling out another 100 yards. And, I mean, that's all of a sudden now you had 400-yard par fours that were drivable because guys can hit the ball 300 yards, and it would bounce, and if you got it going the right direction, it'd roll right up to the green. It made for a lot of fun golf. The weather laid down, basically. I mean, the first 2 days were virtually perfect. There was some rain that came in a little bit of rain that came in on Friday morning, and a little bit of rain came in on Saturday, but nothing to cause major disruption, and a little bit of wind early Sunday morning. But the weather became a non-factor in the tournament. And, of course, this is the course that famously in 1999, John Dundeveld, the Frenchman, remember, went in with a 3-shot lead at Carnoustie and managed to piss away 3 shots in a span of 22 minutes and lose the British Open Championship, which defined his career, essentially. But the course is considered the toughest challenge in tournament golf in Europe. I still think this course is tougher in America, but it's the hardest rotation course to play in the British Open rotation by far. Laid down. What was cool about it was this: all the guys gravitated to the top. I think Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas missed the cut. Other than that, even Mickelson, all the guys were playing over the weekend, which makes for great golf for TV ratings anyway. Secondly, you've got a situation where we really did see a glimpse of Tiger, of the old Tiger. Now, he actually fought his way at one point on the last day. He was the only player on the course under par because the wind had changed directions on him in the morning. But again, it laid down later on. But and then he makes an incredible par on 10 to hold his lead. And I told my family we were watching, I'm like, okay, this is a defining moment in his comeback right here because he had really difficult bunker shot from about 135 yards out, 140 yards out. He had about a 5-foot wall in front of him. And, he needed to make par to maintain his one-shot lead. He had a one-shot lead in the tournament. He executes the shot flawlessly. I mean, only Tiger could have done what he did on this shot. No other player on the course at that time had that shot. He executes it. And he makes par. He actually had about a 15-footer for birdie. But par was great because he jumped the hurdle. He maintained his lead. He goes on to now we're two pretty mundane holes, 11 and 12. And, it became a little bit apart. The two shots define the tournament for him. Basically, he takes 2 3-irons, trying to play conservative, and puts them into the rough, and then double bogeys 11 and bogeys 12, and then makes one more birdie on 14, and then pars out, and basically never gets the momentum going again. But he tell you what, less those 2 shots, he was in contention to win that golf tournament, and I think people need to realize he's back, and how difficult it is for him to take the time to get time to be able to bring yourself back to that level mentally that these guys play at. Because it's really not the physicality of golf. It's the mental approach to the game that really separates the A players from the B players. And the story of the tournament obviously was Francesco Molinari. And ironically, he played the final round with Tiger and had just 2 weeks ago won Tiger's tournament in Washington, D.C. So there's a picture of Tiger presenting him with the trophy to his tournament, the Quicken Loans Capital One tournament, Quicken Loans tournament in D.C. over the holiday weekend, 4th of July. Then he comes back and plays him in the final round and ends up watching Francesco win first Italian winner ever of the British Open. All in all, if you enjoy golf, it was usually the British Open is a bloodbath because of the weather. This was well-executed golf on a really fun course to watch people play on because it's so different than what we see in the country. It was a great win for Francesco, a great win for the British Open, a great showing for Tiger. There was nothing wrong with this weekend of golf. So even if you really weren't a golf fan, you gotten sucked into it. The course looked beautiful. It sits on, the east coast of some Perth or 4th or 5th or 7th or Loch Ness. I think I saw the Loch Ness Monster out there too at some point. So, but it was a wonderful day. I watched all of it. It came out at 1:30 in the morning in Los Angeles, and it didn't end until about 11 o'clock. And then I took my spot on my raft in the pool and decided that was it. That's the British Open.
All right.
Still with my dogs.
In other news, I mean, I'm not a big British Open fan, but I know you are. Other news, CFL, Johnny Manziel was with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, played fairly well in the preseason, was traded yesterday to the Montreal Alouettes, who are the worst team. This is like being traded to the Cleveland Browns in the NFL. But I think the thing we see here is the Hamilton Tiger Cats already have a starting quarterback who's played well this year so far, Jeremiah Masoli. They wanted to get something here. Yeah. And Montreal is basically desperate for a quarterback. They're desperate for somebody who could bring a crowd in, and that could be Manziel. What's your take on Manziel getting his shot? And then I also want you to tell people the difference between the CFL and the NFL.
Okay, well, their backup quarterback, Matt Schitzel. Schitzel, was that his name? Schitzel was pretty shitty, apparently.
We're going to have to bleep it out when you say his name. Just go.
Matt. Well, that's his name.
All right, Schitzel. Just go ahead. Just move on through it. Move through it.
He was the backup quarterback after their starting quarterback went down Montreal's. And I think this is a good move for Manziel. He's going to the last place team in the CFL. And but it's hopefully what this does, it gets him on the field. Apparently, he's been able to control his off-field antics a little bit better up there. Or maybe we just don't get enough Canadian news. And don't say we got to have Lucas on more. So
Lucas doesn't like the CFL, so doesn't really
okay. Well, Lucas, he's on his way to a golf tournament for the next 2 weeks. Thank God. So I think it's a good move. I think he gets on the field. I hope now he can just show his wares now finally and show the people that he can run an offense and he can lead a team. He can move a team up and down the field. He's got game management. He's got it, and I think it's the best move for him at this point in time. I don't think he needs to be worrying about winning championships right now. I think he needs to be winning back respect of the NFL and the people that drafted him and the general managers and coaches that are out there that, will someday want to maybe think about giving him a shot in the NFL, which I know is still his dream to come back and play in the NFL. So I see no negatives to this. Now, I'm not the football aficionado that you are. So from a statistical point of view for a quarterback, what do you think?
It's a great move for him. He gets to start. It's a great move for Montreal because they're absolutely atrocious. They'll probably be, the way they were headed for a 1-17 to 3-15 season. So why not take a shot with Manziel? Because if he comes and turns it on, the CFL right now is a league that the Calgary Stampeders are the dominant team. After them, everybody else 2 through 8 is in a bunch. You can't tell who's the better team. So Montreal is the 9th team, which you know is not doing anything. So why not take a shot at it? I think it's a great move for both teams. If I'm the Hamilton Tiger Cats, though, Jeremiah Masoli is a guy until this year had been inconsistent, and they have lost their last couple games. And I think they might have pulled the plug on Manziel too soon. So I think it's a great move for the Alouettes. It's a great move for Manziel. So overall,
I mean, if Johnny,
both teams, Montreal and Manziel, I think did a great job. I'm not so sure about Hamilton.
If Manziel does anything to move the Alouettes up, he becomes a darling up there.
Yeah,
and he becomes a superstar hero instantly in Canada. And then if he can sustain that status and keep his off-field stuff under control, NFL is going to come looking for this guy real quick because they're always needing quarterbacks. And I don't think anybody ever doubted his talent. It's just his off-field ability to control what he does off the field. And so if he can do that here and he can put a couple wins on the board for Montreal, I think it rises his stock faster than anybody. And I think it's a great move for like you said, for Manziel, for the Alouettes, great move. Hamilton, I don't know, but I'll tell you this. And you asked me this question, I'm going to announce what they did, and I'm going to let you talk about it. Here's what Hamilton Tiger Cats do, and this is the difference between the NFL and the CFL. Hamilton Tiger Cats came right out and said, listen, we traded Johnny off to Montreal. However, all of you that bought Johnny Manziel's Tiger Cat jerseys, if you want to bring him to the pro shop, we will take it back from you and give you a $100 credit to purchase a new jersey in our football pro shop. Now, have we ever seen an NBA team do that or an NFL team do that? No, what we generally do is put it on ESPN and watch him in effigy burn LeBron's jersey. Why didn't Cleveland just come in and say, bring your LeBron jersey and we traded it for the new first-round pick we got, and we'll trade your head up even for a LeBron jersey for that jersey of the new player. And this is the difference between United States sports, which is based on greed, and I think Canadian sports, which, I don't want Lucas to hear this, which is based on fan appreciation. And so go ahead and address that. I mean, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, in Canada, I think the CFL is much more friendly towards fans. There are some issues up there like there are anywhere, but I think especially when you bring in a Manziel and he's gone by week 6 of the season, I think you almost have to do that. I mean, but let's face it, if, who we got here? Who's a draft pick that was picked pretty high in the NFL? Let's say the Bengals last year bring in John Ross, and they cut him before training camp starts, but they were selling his jersey preseason, and everybody's buying it because he's the number 1 pick. Do we think there's any chance that the Bengals are giving you back your $100 or $200 for the John Ross jersey?
Hell no.
No way in hell.
No way in hell. No. And I think probably Hamilton, when they got Manziel, they probably were pretty excited because he's a name player. And, I mean, we like to go watch superstars or celebrities and go play. I mean, it always you feel better when you got Andrew Luck starting as your quarterback as opposed to Matt Schnitzel. Schnitzel? Can I say it that way?
Yeah, sure.
So that's not how it's pronounced, though. So, I mean, obviously, you want to watch superstars play. And for Hamilton, but I think it's a classy way to handle it. And I think it's a lesson that all of pro sports will look. We all take gambles here. We all take risks. You take risks on buying a jersey. This guy's going to pay it out. He doesn't. We support you, our fans, because you're the basis of why we do this. And bring your jersey in, and we'll trade it in for a new one. We'll give you a new one, fresh for another player.
Right.
So I think I read when I read the deal on the trade. That's what struck me the most. Other than I thought it was a great move for Manziel. I thought this is so cool that Hamilton announces it at the same time they'll return the jersey. I'm enamored with that. It would make me want to go to a Canadian Football League game just for that reason. I want to support a league that wants to support its fans.
All right. So we're going to send you to Toronto with Lucas to go to an Argonauts game. All right, next up, we've got Tony Sperano. Sudden passing shocked the NFL the other day. Sources said, or basically Chris Mortensen said, he was the source, that Sperano had complained about chest pains and went to the hospital on Thursday. He underwent tests, was released Friday. The source said that Sperano's wife found him unconscious Sunday morning as they prepared to leave for church but could not revive him. Sperano had been the offensive line coach for the Minnesota Vikings under Mike Zimmer over the last 2 years, was also a head coach in the NFL from 2008 to 2011 for the Miami Dolphins, and then an interim basis with the Oakland Raiders in 2014. He'd also coached in the past with the Cleveland Browns, Washington Redskins, Jacksonville, Dallas, San Francisco, and the Jets. So everybody here at The Grueling Truth would like to send out our condolences to Coach Sperano's wife, family, and players. Next up, Steve, we're going to talk about something I know you love, and that's boxing. So,
yeah, and I'm going to tell you what, I love this guy, but not for boxing. I got a question for this guy that I've been dying to ask somebody since I moved to Hollywood. So let's bring him on board.
And
let's bring Thomas on the air.
Anybody that knows anything about Steve knows probably.
No, don't give it away.
I'm just saying, if you listen
here's my thought.
You know where it's going.
Here's my thought, and I'm sure Thomas is a wonderful guy. I'm sure he is. I'm thinking, okay, we're doing a ring announcer on Monday. What can a ring announcer bring to the table other than let's get ready to rumble, which is about all I know about ring announcers. So I started doing some research on this guy, Thomas. And I'm going to tell you what, I like this guy. I probably like him better than, what's the guy's name that does the Let's Get Ready to Rumble? Michael something, or what is it? Yeah, okay. And see, it's like, I'm a Thomas Treiber fan now. It's like, the heck with that. I like this guy. And I tell you, I've got to tell you, I have watched more boxing since I have joined you than I have watched in the first 58 years of my life. All right. So I actually sat there. I think I was on the phone with you some. Oh, I got to talk to you about that too. Don't ever give me crap about NASCAR when I watch this boxing match with all the damn patches on these pants right now. They look like freaking NASCAR. I mean, you talk about knocking NASCAR.
I never knocked NASCAR for that. I knocked NASCAR because it's boring.
You know. Well, yeah, but I'm sitting there looking. I'm thinking, okay, this is Earnhardt and Waltrip just beating on each other in a race. Oh, and they got the decals on their car. These are two guys beating on each other with the decals on their ass. What's the difference?
Well,
it's the same mentality.
The one guys are
crush their opponent and win,
hoping they don't run into the wall. The other two are hitting each other in the face. All right, we're going to have Thomas Treiber up after we hear this message from PE.
All right. Great.
Replenishing Technologies helps athletes of all levels train, recover, and perform at their absolute best. We do this by offering the PEMF 120, the world's leading pulsed electromagnetic field therapy device. Workouts, injury, and stress cause cells to lose their natural power. PEMF works like a battery charger, helping cells regain the power needed to dump toxins, take in oxygen and nutrients, and repair. 95% of athletes report less pain, increased range of motion, more energy, and they simply feel better after using PEMF 120. If you'd like to count yourself among that group, contact us at www.replenishingtechnologiesinc.com.
All right, guys, we're back on Survive in Advance with myself, Mike Goodpaster, and, of course, 1981 national champion Steve Risley. And our guest today is, for my money, the best ring announcer in boxing. And I got nothing else to say. The guy does a great job, and the thing that's the most impressive is he doesn't really have to work for a living. He gets to do what he loves and get paid for it. So, I mean, you look at his Facebook page, you know, when most people are posting pictures about the line at work or something, he's smoking a cigar in front of a fire. Helping welcome to the show, Thomas Treiber. How you doing, Thomas?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for those kind words, and always a pleasure to be with you guys.
All right, now it's a pleasure to be with me. We know that, but Steve Risley is here, and he makes sure you don't say anything out of the way because he gets his feelings hurt easily. He's not really a boxing fan, but Steve,
no, that's not true. I'm not a boxing aficionado. I don't know the sport. I didn't say I didn't like the sport. You know, I just said I don't know the sport. That's all. I mean, you know, I was kind of an enforcer in college basketball, so I know about fighting, but we were kind of sneaky little shits. You know, we didn't put on, gym trunks with decals all over them and big 16-ounce gloves. We just did it cheap shot.
Steve.
So
we've seen basketball players fight, Steve. I don't think you can really equate it.
They didn't have videotape when I was playing.
Yeah. That's because they were shooting into peach baskets, and somebody had to knock the ball out of the basket after somebody scored, and the game's all ended 8-7. And they let white guys like yourself play.
Hey, Thomas, I got a question for you. Tom, wait, I got a question started. Do you have a tux deal? I hope the guy you're getting those tux is comp to you. You're not buying those things, are you? Because they are some nice-looking tuxes.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Do you have a tuxedo deal?
Oh, you know what? I'm a Men's Warehouse guy. I really love all the suits and tuxedos, and you get quick service. You could be in and out of there with in 15 minutes, and you just come back in a day or two, and boom, your suit's ready. No, I wish I did. I would welcome that.
Well, you should get a hold of Men's Warehouse, because I tell you what, I like you. I had an event to go out to here in L.A., and it was a black tie event. And I'm like, oh, man, I do not want to rent a tux. I don't want to do this. I went to Men's Warehouse, and I'm 6'8", 260 pounds. They had a tux sitting on the rack that fit me like a glove. And I put it on, and I looked good in it. They tailored it up a little bit, took some areas in, broadened the shoulders a little bit. And, I mean, people were so Men's Warehouse, that's amazing. I'm in your camp, because I probably had the exact same tux you do. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a great selection there. I've been going there for 20 plus years, and I'm always very happy with what they have.
All right.
Yeah. Now you see, I thought listening to your taste, I went through a bunch of your videos on YouTube and stuff, and I thought you'd be taller. So with the voice, booming voice like you got, I figured you'd be taller. So it's really fun.
I'm 5'10" and a half. I'm a little shy of the 6 foot mark, but I'm not 6'8", that's for sure. Sounds like you can fight Fury at that height.
He doesn't even know who Fury is.
You know what's funny is that when you're my height, it's like you don't realize how much you stand out in the crowd. You never see yourself in the crowd. You're a part of the crowd until you turn on like a Johnny Carson or a Johnny Carson. God, that's how old I am. You turn on a Letterman or a Leno or something like that, and Magic Johnson comes out. And you see how, and I'm Magic Johnson's size, basically almost the exact same size as Magic Johnson. And when he comes out, I see him towering over the other guests and over the host. I'm thinking, that's me. That's what I look like and how I perceive to other people.
Like.
I never see that view, because I'm not on camera, so I never see myself on camera. And it's amazing how big people really stand out. And how big you think normal people are until you stand next to them.
The difference there is, Steve, that when people see you, they think, ooh, look at that, he looks like Shrek. When they see Magic Johnson, they say, what a handsome man.
That's exactly right. I've never. Why do you think I'm on the radio?
Afternoon.
Why do you think I'm on the radio and not on television? But this interview's with Thomas, not me, so let's move forward.
All right. So, Thomas, let's do this. For somebody that's not a huge boxing fan, a lot of people think that boxing is kind of a niche sport, however you say it. But it's really not, because overseas, boxing is as big as almost any sport there is. And I know you do most of your work over there. And you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, I've been very fortunate to be working now for Frank Warren, who is a Hall of Fame promoter. He's been promoting boxing events in the UK and all over the world for 30 years, 30 probably plus years. And he currently has a series on a network called BT Sport, which guess you could say is kind of like an ESPN in the UK. And I'm very fortunate to be their exclusive ring announcer. And the fans in the UK, they're just so enthusiastic. And where in the United States, if it's not a big fight, there just doesn't seem to be that same type of interest or enthusiasm. But in the UK, soccer, or as they call it, football, and boxing, those are two of their biggest sports, where here in the United States, we've got baseball, basketball, football that overrides boxing when it comes to, you turn on sports every night on your local newscast. Boxing's probably not going to be the first thing they're talking about in the sports segment, where in the UK, they get that attention, and the fighters are more looked at as stars. And just really loving being out there every month. I'll be in Belfast, Northern Ireland, August 18th coming up with a huge show at a place called Windsor Park. It's a soccer stadium. They're estimating probably 30 to 40,000 people in attendance for that one, where Tyson Fury, who will be in his second fight on that card, Carl Frampton, former two-time world champion, will be on that card. He's headlining that card because he's from Belfast. So really the UK is and they've got a lot of world champions now out of the UK, so a real hot spot for boxing right now.
All right, now you talked about Tyson Fury a little bit, who is huge over there, not as big over here. But a quick overlook is he was the guy that beat Vladimir Klitschko, won the heavyweight championship of the world, didn't fight for a couple years, had some mental issues, I think some dependency issues. You want to talk a little bit? I know you worked his last event. What kind of guy is he? I know you've talked to him before, you met him, and what do you think are his chances to make it all the way back?
Yeah, I actually did Tyson Fury's pro debut in Nottingham, England in December of 2008, and then I did probably his first dozen fights or so, because I was on a TV series back in 2009 and 2010 on a network called ITV in the UK. So I've had a chance to be around him many, many times. All I can say is he's always very nice to me. He's courteous to people around him. I think he really plays off. He's a guy that likes to clown around. He's got a lot of charisma. And I think when those cameras turn on, he just takes it to another level. But I really can't say anything bad. His family has always been very nice as well. I know his father, John Fury, who was actually a former heavyweight fighter himself. And I really can't say anything bad about him. He's always been very nice to me. He's married. He's got, I believe, 3 or 4 kids now, actually. And I think that he's one of those guys where when the cameras are on, he loves to play it up.
All right. Well, so in your career so far, what do you think was the biggest moment? What's the most memorable, ring announcing you've done at the end of a fight?
Wow. I have to, it's hard to pinpoint. I've been doing this for 27 years. I started at 17 years of age as a senior in high school. I made my debut on ESPN in 1995. And I've now worked on many, many networks. I've worked in 12 different countries. For me, really, every opportunity, the first time I was on ESPN, the first time I was on HBO, the first time I was on, all of those stand out. And I really can't pinpoint one. I mean, I would have to say, obviously, your first time on national TV on ESPN is one of those moments that will always, kind of stand out the most. But really, it's an honor. Every time I've worked in a different country, there's no bigger honor for a ring announcer than to work in another country. And I've done, I've been very fortunate to, do many world title fights and be around the fight game at a high level. So just very thankful for all the opportunities I've had.
All right. Now, Steve, ever since he started researching you, has one huge moment that he wants to talk to you about. I mean, he was so giddy when he found this out that he could not wait to ask you. So go ahead.
I'm going to save that for last. That for last. That's the last question of the day. Yeah, no, I got some legitimate questions to ask you. Okay,
the other one's not. All right.
Well, it's probably more humorous than it is legit, but it is a big moment for me. But and my background, so you'll know why. I noticed on some of your videos that you've done some wrestling work. Do you still do that? Do you work for the WWE or anything like that? And go into that a little bit. How is that different from boxing?
Well, I'm going to tell you what happened for me was, I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid, and even followed it as an adult. Yeah, I mean, I was that kid growing up in the 80s when the WWF, boom was going on in the 80s. I was at home watching every Saturday morning, and then it turned into every Saturday morning and Saturday night, and then Sunday mornings. I mean, I just became a wrestling fanatic. So
isn't that
what happened
wild?
for me?
Saturday? Go ahead. I'm talking to a region.
what kind of happened? Yeah, no.
He gets so excited when you start talking about wrestling and reality TV.
I do.
It's hard to control him.
Right.
Yeah, I just, for me as a big wrestling fan as a kid, I always dreamed of somehow being involved in the wrestling business. And then when I started ring announcing boxing at 17, it transitioned into me getting opportunities to ring announce professional wrestling. And something a lot of people don't know is I actually laced up the boots as well in wrestling. I had competed in bodybuilding when I was a teenager, and then I had an opportunity where a guy offered to start training me. Like before the matches, I would go in the ring before the crowd would come in. I learned how to do the locks and take all the bumps and stuff. So I had a very brief opportunity to actually wrestle as well. But then the opportunities just were more with the professional boxing business. But wrestling to me was my first love. That was where I was really hoping to be a announcer and work full time. But, thankful that, it's worked out for me in the boxing world.
Yeah, but in those days, though, it was mandatory that all ring announcers got involved in one altercation on every wrestling event, wasn't it? I mean, you were drawn into some fight somehow and pulled into the ring and had a chair thrown over your head, dropped in a double R bar hammerlock or something like that. So that was pretty trained like that just because if you're on the ring, you're going to get involved.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. I mean, I was thrown over the top rope in my tuxedo. I was body slammed in my tuxedo. You definitely
wait. It's your Men's Warehouse tuxedo. We're trying to get you a sponsor.
Exactly. I got to keep saying that, and hopefully, I'm always when I'm on social media, I'm always adding, at Men's Warehouse. I'm always hoping that maybe an executive somewhere will contact me and say, "Hey, we're going to give you 10 free tuxedos."
Well, we'll definitely tag Men's Warehouse in this show.
We'll tag Men's Warehouse on this show. So
perfect. Good. So that's kind of how it happened with me with the pro wrestling.
Yeah, that's great. Because, I grew up, too, on Saturday mornings. I mean, you remember guys like Dick the Bruiser, Baron Von Raschke.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Blackjack.
Well, you must be a Midwest guy.
Yeah, Midwest guy. They were the Midwest. Bobby the Brain Heenan was the back part of the Midwest group. The Wilbur Snyder, the world's most scientific wrestler. I mean, we were when it was all regionalized. People don't realize wrestling started regionalized, and it was Vince McMahon's dad who started to bring it all together. And then when Vince took over, he turned it into the monster mega sport that it is now. And you got to call it a sport because those guys are athletes. I know the outcomes are determined, but that's real physical contact going on to get that popular. And the way they sell out arenas, I'll tell you what, the NBA, NFL, and MLB can only hope they can sell out arenas like the wrestling people can do. So,
it's truly amazing.
And I think it's all because of the quality ring announcers they have.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
There you go. All right, I got one more serious question, and I'll give it back to Mike. Then I got my fun question to end it with when we're ready to end. What's your dream fight? If you could get called to do any fight that's out there, either coming up or in the past, or just what would be your dream fight?
Gosh, really it would be any fight that the entire world is anticipating. I don't think that's one of the most magical things about boxing is when so many people are pulled in and everybody wants to watch a certain fight. And I would say for me, and that's what we call a mega fight. And I would love to have an opportunity someday to be involved in an event. And, the buildup of a boxing event is so exciting when you're when you're walking around the hotel and everybody's talking about the fight and who do you think's going to win and this and that. And then, boom, when that bell rings for round one, everybody's sitting at the edge of their seat. That's what I live for sometimes, those moments. So really, I can't pinpoint any particular fighters, but it would just be to be part of an event that the world is watching and anticipating. That would be, really wonderful.
Yeah, so
yeah, I think you're young enough that'll come for you.
Well,
yeah.
This is the thing, though. There's less and less boxing events like that nowadays, Thomas. I mean, I remember growing up in the '80s. I mean, you get Holmes, Cooney, Hagler, Hearns, Hagler, Leonard, Hearns, Leonard, Duran. I mean, it just there's not that many. But
Holyfield, Tyson.
Yeah. But when you look at it, really, almost all sports have gone that way, where there's not too many games or matches or boxing events anymore where the whole world knows that this is going on like they did an Ali Frazier or a Holmes Cooney.
Yeah, I think, the evolution of television, and there's just so many in the internet where there's so many different things out there for entertainment now that, back in the day, boy, if there was something special going on, everybody was watching it because there really wasn't anything else to watch. Where now there's just so many different things to choose from. I think it's harder to draw people in now than it was back in the day where you had, 10 TV channels. So, but, I think there's still a lot of great fights out there. I mean, being part of these fights in the UK, I've already done some very highly anticipated fights out there. And as you mentioned earlier, I had the opportunity to do the return of Tyson Fury. A lot of eyes were on him. So, and I've done several world title fights now in just the past 10 months out there. And I'll tell you, it's really something special to be working out there, and these UK fans are just fanatical. It's so cool.
You started out, as you said, at the age of 17, and it's got to be really special to sit there when you were at home this weekend and just think of the things that you've done and what you were thinking you wanted to do when you were 17. It has to be almost surreal at this point.
I couldn't have planned it. It wasn't. I had visions of actually being in radio. I was getting ready to go to broadcasting school right out of high school. And I thought, you know what? Ring announcing is something I can see a radio guy doing. I saw myself as a morning host kind of thing and on the radio. And I was a class clown and enjoyed attention. I was that kind of kid. And when I started ring announcing, I wasn't even thinking about doing it on television. I just thought of it as just a gig to get in front of a microphone. And it led to opportunities to travel and then eventually to do television. And thankfully, all these years later, it's paying the bills. And but no, I couldn't have envisioned the opportunities I've had, above average opportunities. I'm so thankful. I don't take anything for granted because, I starved a long time early in my career. I mean, it's no different than an actor. You're honing your trade, you're networking, and it takes time. And, I have a lot of ring announcers that reach out to me, and, I think some of them think that, in a year they're going to be traveling the world and making, good money. And it just doesn't work that way. It takes time.
Yeah. And you want to tell everybody a little bit like what your schedule is for the next 4 to 5 weeks?
Sure. Yeah. I'll be doing a fight in Laredo, Texas, this Friday. And that's going to be with Roy Jones Jr.'s promotion. That's going to be on the network Be In Sports. And then from there, I am going to be going to Atlantic City on August 4th, and I'll be doing the undercards for HBO. That's on the Kovalev card. And then from there, on August 10th, I'll be in Las Vegas, and that's another Roy Jones Jr. promotion event, which is televised on BN Sports. And then pretty much straight from there, I go right to Belfast, Northern Ireland. I'll be there all week. I'll be hosting the public workouts, probably be part of the press conference as well. And then I'll be doing the August 18th fight in Belfast at Windsor Park that we were speaking of, live on BT Sport in the UK. I also believe the Showtime Network will be picking that up as well on their social media platforms. And then from there, it looks like August 25th or 24th, I'll be in El Paso, Texas, for a boxing event. Not sure if that's televised. And then August 31st, I'll be in Waukegan, Illinois for kind of a white-collar boxing type of event, which is always fun. And that pretty much rounds off July and August for me. It's every week pretty much for me. I'm very thankful for the steady work and excited to be part of all these shows.
All right, so now it's time for the moment everybody's been waiting for. I needed to announce that as a boxing announcer, but Steve Risley's question.
Should I sit down, Mike? Should I sit down?
No.
If you'd listened to the show before, you would know that Steve.
No, hang on now. Just let it go.
Steve,
Let it go.
Steve.
All right. You have to know where I live. I live in Los Angeles, okay? So I'm out here in La La Land. But I did research on you, trying to get a little bit about you. In 2010, you guys did a special episode of our favorite television show that we watch every religious on Sunday night.
He means his
I've watched it since conception. And its entire family. It is our guilty pleasure. But you did a special show of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So yes. I have to know, what's it like to work with the Kardashians?
It was interesting. I mean, it was a lot of drama.
Come on now. Did they make you sign a non-disclosure?
No, you know what? That was a really interesting. And, in 2010, that's when the show was red hot. And exactly. My girlfriend at the time and I were watching the show, and I got the call that they were doing this special boxing episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians where family members were going to be boxing, and they were shooting it in California. And I was lucky enough to land the gig and didn't know what to expect. Arriving we did it actually at the Commerce Casino in Commerce City, and didn't know what to expect upon arriving. But I met all of the family, and they were actually very nice. And if you ever get a chance to watch the episode, you'll see some of the drama that unfolded, and it was pretty close to exactly what happened. I think they did a little bit of TV magic to kind of make the story a little bit more interesting, but it was really cool. It was a great exposure. I'll tell you what, I've done a lot of television work with boxing, but being on the E Network and getting they gave me a lot of camera time, and it was amazing because at that time I would literally go, to the bank, to the hair salon, and somebody would say, and this would be in the hometown I was living in, and somebody would always say, "Oh my gosh, I saw you on the Kardashians." And the thing is that they were replaying it over and over. I mean, I would literally turn on my TV every day and it was on for like a month straight. It was just amazing how much exposure that gave me. So it was really nice to do what I do for a living and get seen on a different platform of reality television. So overall, cool experience.
Yeah, that's what Mike doesn't get. Because we did a pre-production meeting before we started the show today, and I'm like, he called me up. I'm like, Mike, I'm pumped now. I don't know much about boxing. I'm scared I'm going to ask this kind of dumb question. I don't want to embarrass him or embarrass myself. It's easy to embarrass myself, but I don't put him. But when I read you'd done the Kardashians, I think, Mike, was I just excited as hell to go do this interview and get through this? And I told you right away, I got the question. And I was into it.
That's great,
man. I'm into you now. You are now my favorite boxing ring announcer, and I will watch boxing just because of you now. And
man, I love it.
The Kardashians
thank you so much.
For that. So
yes, thank you. I
that's
appreciate
great.
that.
All right.
No problem. Okay, Mike, that was my $10 question I wanted to ask. I touched reality. I touched somebody who has actually been live with the Kardashians, so I'm a happy camper.
All right, last question.
Hey, wait. Are they as short as they look? Are they as short as they look?
Yeah, actually I was surprised by that. Kim is pretty short. She is pretty short. And now Chloe's probably about 5'8", I would guess. Maybe she was pretty decent height, a little shorter than me. But yeah, they're not tall. They're not tall. Caitlyn, well, Bruce Jenner boxed on that, and he's made a life change, as we all know. I'm guessing he's about a 6'2" guy, but
did he box himself, Bruce against Caitlyn?
Did he box Bruce or Caitlyn? Which one did he box at?
Well, back then he was still Bruce. So, but God bless them, man, to each their own. I'm not one to judge, man. Just,
no, neither am I.
Whatever makes you happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have no issues with it either. It's just, you know, when you do
Yeah,
something
no,
like that, you better expect there's going to be some humor. There's going to be some humor coming out of it. So it goes with the territory. So not a lack of respect.
He was a really nice guy. And everybody was really nice. That's all I can say is everybody was really nice. And
that's good to hear.
It was just fun to be part of it and see how they filmed it. And it was cool. You know, it took about a month and a half before they aired it. And I remember just thinking, you know, gosh, I wonder how they're going to edit this. I wonder how it's all going to work. And it was pretty cool sitting home that Sunday night and seeing what they did.
All right.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like my son's in television production, and he works on big movies, and that's why we're out here in Los Angeles. And basically, the movies he's doing and shows he's doing right now will not air until 2020. I mean, his schedule of movies that he's doing, and they're not even scheduled for release until 2020. So. And he's wrapped up filming on a couple of them. So it takes a year and a half to edit these things to get them to where they look as good on screen as they do. So, yeah, he's working on projects right now that's scheduled for release in 2020. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. So, all right, Mike, that's done with the holiday edition of boxing. You can close it up.
All right.
Mike's blowing a gasket right now, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I'm so upset. So when you look at the last 30 years of boxing, probably the most known ring announcer is Michael Bufford. I know that you're going to work an event with him coming up in the future. What kind of guy is Michael? Is he the kind of guy that gives you advice? Just what kind of relationship do you guys have?
Yeah, Michael's a great guy. Consider him a friend. I've known him for many, many years. And when we work together, he's always very friendly. He's you know, a true professional, obviously the best in the world as a ring announcer, the most known. I mean, he is the Hulk Hogan, if you will, of boxing. You know, if there's Hulk Hogan in wrestling, there's Michael Buffer as a ring announcer. Everybody knows that name. Everybody knows Let's Get Ready to Rumble. And no, he's always been great. We've kind of started to communicate here and there on Twitter, and we'll text and email on occasion, and I'll be seeing him in Atlantic City on August 4th. And nothing but great things to say about him. Just I admire everything about what he's accomplished in this, you know, industry, and I hope just to scratch the surface of what he's done.
Yeah, plus you need to ask him how he never ages.
I know, he looks amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, I believe he's now in his early 70s.
Yeah.
And he looks amazing. And he's still got a, you know, I mean, he keeps himself in great shape. I mean, I know he's had a few health things, you know, throughout the years, as everyone does. But he's really done a remarkable job of keeping up his appearance. I know he's got a wonderful wife that, you know, keeps him active. And I love following him on Twitter. He's always, you know, he's all over the world. I mean, that guy just doesn't stop. So the pace he keeps up with traveling and at his age is really remarkable. And God bless him. I hope he continues for a long, long time.
All right, Thomas, it was great to have you on the show again. And before you go back overseas, you definitely need to come on the Boxing Weekly show with me, John, and Jeremiah.
Let's do it. Yeah, this is a big one coming up, August 18th. We gotta do a post-fight recap, or let's talk about it before I leave town. One of the two, or both.
Before and after, if you want. So, Thomas, it was
great
to have you on the show. It was great to educate
Thank
Steve
you so
about
much.
a real sport, boxing, since he likes NASCAR.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Mike. Always a pleasure, anytime, and great talking with you as well, Steve.
You too, Thomas. Very nice to meet you, and I'm a fan now. I'm a big fan. So.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, guys. Remember, you can hear the Grueling Truth's Inside Boxing Weekly show tonight live at 10 o'clock on thegruelingtruth.net. You can follow us at Grueling Truth or at Survive in Advance. Also follow the Facebook group. You can now hear all of our shows on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreakers, TuneIn. Any place you find sports podcasts, you'll find the Grueling Truth. So for Thomas Treiber, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.